This is the 2021 Volkswagen Passat Alltrack. And if you want a family car that has loads of room, both for people and for things, you want lots of standard equipment and a car that's fun to drive as well, please don't rush out and buy an SUV. Do yourself a favour, test drive one of these first instead. Now, Volkswagen gave the entire Passat range an update for 2021, and this car's a rival for really good cars like the Skoda Superb and also the Peugeot 508. But this car's the all-track version of the Passat. So in this video, we're going to have a look around the outside to see what sets it apart visually, dive inside to explore how much room there is in there, because trust me, there's loads of it, and then we're going to go for a drive to explore one of its key strengths when compared with an SUV. Before all that though, if you like this video, we're going to have 2 more just like it every single week, so why not scroll up and subscribe to our channel, and then dive into the comments below. If you have any questions or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. My opinion of the Passat has changed quite a lot recently. It's always been a car that's been very easy to recommend. It's always been a very sensible buy. It's never really been a car that's excited me that much. But now that I have a young family, suddenly it has become super appealing. So if you have kids, maybe you've got lots of dogs, or just have heaps of stuff to lug about, but you still really care about how your car drives, this review is for you. In Australia, there are 2 versions of the Alltrack that you can buy. The range starts with the 162 TSI at $46,990, but the model we have here today is the premium version, which costs $12,000 more and starts at $58,790. Now, the only difference between the 2 cars is spec and some equipment levels, which we'll get to in a little bit, but they both share the same 2-litre petrol engine and all-wheel drive layout. Now, Alltrack versions are ride-on suspension that's a little bit taller than the regular Passat range, so it's a bit more outdoorsy, a little bit more capable away from sealed roads. Kind of sits in a middle ground between a conventional wagon and an SUV, and to my eyes, I think it's a really handsome thing. Visually, Alltrack versions get some nice silver body cladding underneath the front bumper here, and headlights, they're LEDs across both versions for the headlights, the fog lights and the tail lights. But in these premium versions, the headlights themselves are matrix, so that allows you to mask out cars when they're coming towards you at night time, and you don't have to change between high beam and low beam. It does it automatically for you, which is a handy feature. We get some parking sensors integrated into the front bumper. Premium versions get 19-inch alloys as standard. The design itself is quite nice, multi-spoke design with some silver sections and also some parts that are painted in black. Regular versions of the Passat Alltrack get 18-inch wheels as standard. Get an Alltrack badge here, and the mirrors are heated, automatically folded with silver mirror caps. And premium versions also get the added benefit of having a panoramic sunroof, a very good panoramic sunroof as standard. It's around the back where we get to this car's key strength compared with most SUVs. But let's first talk about the taillights. I mentioned earlier that all Alltracks get LED taillights, but this premium version gets premium taillights as well. And that allows for a sequential indicator and a really cool on-off sequence. Passat badge, nice and proud across the tailgate here. We also get chrome finishes around this exhaust outlet, but I am sad to report that that's fake, unfortunately. The actual exhaust outlet is all the way underneath there. We do get rear parking sensors integrated into the bumper, and the tailgate is automatic. And this is what I'm talking about. Check it out. That is a massive boot, 650 litres of capacity. To put that into context, that's more than 100 litres than you're going to get from most mid-size SUVs. So it is really, really big. And those seats fold 40, 20, 40 as well. And when you lay them flat, it expands to 1790 litres. So this is absolutely cavernous. It's pretty well decked out with amenities as well. Under the boot floor, this is a really handy feature. We have a full-size alloy spare tyre. Full-size alloy, not a Cantergoot, not a space saver. Full marks to Volkswagen for that feature. We have loads of tie-down points in here as well. A 12-volt socket and a couple of shelves for loose items, and these handy levers which fold the rear seat automatically so you don't have to go around to the second row. It really is an enormous boot, and the sense of space continues when we jump inside the cabin. Inside, the cabin reflects the same simple design but really confident execution as the exterior. The general sense of quality and materials is very, very high in here, and the ergonomics are very good as well. All of the major controls fall very easily to hand. It's a cabin that majors on comfort and, as we will soon discover, practicality, because there's a good amount of space to put things. The first thing I want to point out are these seats. They're leather trimmed in premium versions, and this car also has the no-cost option Mistral grey colour scheme, which I really like. Lifts the whole ambience of the car. Don't know what it'd be like in a couple of years after you've sat in it a million times with your dark blue jeans, but for now, it looks absolutely fantastic to my eyes. The seats themselves are pretty clever. So premium versions get heated and cooled seats for both front passengers, but the driver also scores a massage function, which I will now activate. The driving position itself is very good. I've got loads of lateral support on the seat. I can get myself nice and low as well, and there's a good amount of adjustment for the steering wheel, which is trimmed in leather. As before, I mentioned there is a good amount of space to put things in the car. I've got a couple of cubbies in the center console here with a retractable lid to put your phone on it if you want to. You can also put your phone ahead of the gear shifter in this little slot here. And if you retract this bin, the cup holders in here are absolutely enormous. They'll easily swallow my oversized drink bottle. I think you could actually fit a larger drink bottle than that one in there. And they make short work of takeaway coffee cups as well. There's a slot for your key. Handy feature. We know I love this because I hate losing my key. I lose it all the time. And the door bins themselves are flocked, so things aren't going to rattle around in there, and they're decently sized. Again, easily take my oversized drink bottle and a takeaway coffee cup. This center bin though isn't the world's largest, but a useful little cubby to put things like your wallet and your keys. There's loads of equipment and technology as well, and the first thing you notice are the two digital screens that greet you when you hop into the car. Premium versions do get a digital dial pack. That's an analog dials in the regular Alltrack, but in this car they're fully digital. We've seen this before in the Tiguan R-Line, which we reviewed a little while ago, and it is a very, very good system. Clear graphics, logically laid out, and you can configure the screen to your liking. My favorite is to have the nav full width or to have the two dials up with Apple CarPlay in the center. That's paired with a 9.2-inch central touchscreen. In regular versions of the Alltrack, that's 8 inches, so it's a little bit smaller, but this car gets the larger touchscreen, and it's a good system. Again, it's got some hotkeys down here on the side, which is handy, so not everything is buried into menus, but even those menus are logically laid out. The graphics are very good. It's paired with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as we would expect. It's wireless in this car, and I'll fire that up now and show you what it's like to use. It's very, very simple. All of the functionality of Apple CarPlay that we love. But the good news is if you don't want to use Apple CarPlay, this system is logical. Some of them are a little bit baffling in other manufacturers, but Volkswagen does a very, very good job of this stuff. It's also paired with a very, very good 360-degree reversing camera. I love these systems. They make parking so much easier. And this one, again, is very good. We've got multiple angles that show the car. You're going to appreciate this functionality every time you're parking or you're in an underground car park. The controls for the air conditioning are easy to use, logically laid out. They do have touch sensitive controls down here, which we saw that on the Tiguan R-Line and on the new Golf, but it's better in this car than the Golf because they're backlit, nice and easy to use. And luckily, that touch-sensitive technology isn't replicated on the steering wheel. We've got conventional buttons up here, and that is a much better solution to my eyes. Connectivity-wise, we have a couple of USB-C ports up front here, one here next to the gear shifter and another in the central cubby down here. And there is a 12-volt socket here on the center console as well. There's a high level of standard active safety gear as well. So every Passat Alltrack gets VW Group's IQ Safety Suite as standard. That includes things like AEB, adaptive cruise control, which is a handy feature, but also blind spot detection and rear cross traffic alert. Jump into the back seat, and the first thing you notice is just a general sense of space and room back here. It's a key Passat strength. The general sense of roominess is helped by the panoramic sunroof, I think, because it lets a lot of light in, but just check out the amount of knee room I have. That's my own driving position up there. I'm 6'3", so I'm not overly short, and I have acres of knee room here. I've got a good amount of toe room as well. Not a huge amount because I've got the seat set into its lowest position, but plenty there so I can stretch out and be very, very comfortable. The sense of airiness is helped by these low window sills. Anyone with kids will know how useful that is. You don't want them feeling hemmed in. Although if you do want to block out a bit of sun, we have manually adjustable window shades in each of the back windows. That's a useful feature. Seat itself is very comfortable, natural backrest angle. I've got a decent amount of under thigh support as well. One thing to point out about this seat, however, is that unlike a Tiguan, which has a sliding second row, we can't move this one at all. It's fixed, and that goes for the backrest angle as well. Saying that though, it is a very, very comfortable back seat. We're pretty well looked after in terms of amenities as well. Each outboard seat gets its own map light, place to put a coat hanger. There is another coat hook here on the B pillar as well. And we get our own air vents back here with a temperature control. Lurking under here is another USB-C port and a 12-volt socket, so we can charge our devices back here. No drama at all. The central transmission tunnel is fairly pronounced, so that's something worth pointing out. Although when you're sat in the middle seat, it's not so much of an issue. You can fit 3 fully grown adults across the back bench here, no dramas at all. Okay for storage back here. We've got map pockets in each of the front seats. The door bins, again, aligned with felt, which is great. Sometimes they're only in the front and they're hard plastic in the back, but we get felt in both rows here. And there is a central armrest with 2 pretty generously sized cup holders. Again, my oversized Corona drink bottle can fit in the front one, but not the back one. No dramas at all. That also goes into the door pocket. So it is a very convincing back seat that majors on space and comfort. In fact, I'd say there's probably more room back here than most mid-size SUVs at this price point. And the advantages of the Passat over an SUV continue when we go for a drive. Like the rest of the car, the way the Alltrack drives is very, very polished. All the control weights are nice and light and very easy to use. Road noise is kept to a minimum as well, despite having large 19-inch wheels. And because we've got that extra ride height to the suspension, the way this car rides feels very, very relaxed. Unlike previous versions of the Passat Alltrack though, which only had a diesel engine, this version of the Alltrack only comes with a petrol engine. The good news is that it is a great engine. It's the VW Group's venerable EA888 2-litre. It's the same engine found in things like the Golf GTI, Tiguan R-Line, and it's very, very good. It's very polished, it's very premium. There's a reason it's used throughout the VW Group's range. In this car, we have 162 kilowatts at our disposal and 350 Newton meters, and it's paired with a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. The gearbox itself is very good. Shifts gears very smoothly, does a good job of picking the right ratios all on its own, and there's not too much of the typical DSG lag or hesitation when you're trying to park or do 3-point turns. This is a big car, but the engine never feels underdone. It's punchy and responsive and has a good amount of mid-range torque. And the 0 to 100 acceleration of this car is surprisingly quick. We ran some figures on it earlier in the week, and it got a 6.9 seconds to 100, which, to put that into context, that's only half a second slower than something like a Golf GTI or an Octavia RS. So there's plenty of performance here for keen drivers. It's a pretty tidy handler as well. The steering, the initial impressions are it's light, almost verging on too light, I would say, but you can change that by cycling through the drive mode. So we're in comfort at the moment. You go into normal, go into sport, the dash glows red and the steering takes on a bit more weight. Definitely my preference. And the other thing you can do is you can access individual mode and you can put the steering into this heavier setting but have everything else wound off, so the car retains its nice and relaxed personality, but you get some more weight to the steering, which is how I would set my car up. Both versions of the Alltrack come with something called adaptive chassis control, which is VW speak for adaptive dampers. We've got 3 stages for those dampers, and again, you can adjust those in the individual mode, but in all 3 settings, the ride is very nicely judged. You certainly do appreciate the extra travel to the Alltrack suspension, and all but the biggest bumps, like that one, are nicely dealt with. Now this car is on the 19-inch wheels, which we mentioned earlier, and sometimes the big wheels do thump and bump a little bit over sharp edges, so I actually think the entry-level Alltrack with the 18-inch wheels might be the pick when it comes to ride quality. If you're a keen driver, however, you like to go for a blast on a Sunday morning, Volkswagen has just added a more potent 206 TSI R-Line version to the regular Passat range. But part of me thinks that this Alltrack might be the pick of any Passat you can currently buy, mostly because of that extra compliance to the chassis, but it also is more capable off-road as well. We've got that extra clearance to the body, we've got an off-road mode to play with also, and standard all-wheel drive. Plus you can tow with this car. The official braked towing capacity is 1,800 kilograms. That's the same as any mid-size SUV, but this car's more fun to drive. So it looks sharp, has a really comfortable and very roomy interior. It's also a tidier handler than most SUVs, but it still retains that ability to handle some light off-roading. You could mount a very convincing case that this is all the car most of us will ever need, and it's certainly one of the best cars Volkswagen currently makes. So if you're in the market for a new family car, this one should definitely be on your shortlist.